Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today, we are talking some more My Hero Academia on the road to the next season coming up in May, season 7. So, we have the My Hero enthusiasts with us. Miss Andrea Alanis, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Just ready for the week to be over, ready for the weekend. Yeah, ready to go. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. The weekend's upon us on our day of recording, and then the following week is like the last holiday for a long, long time that people get off, President's Day. So just trying to get to that weekend. So before we talk about our February topic, there was some big stuff that happened with My Hero Academia. Literally one of the last days of January on the 29th, the title for the next movie, My Hero Academia, You're Next, came out. It's releasing in Japan August 2nd, 2024. The trailer's out. I mean, I'll have the link for people who haven't seen the trailer in the description, but pretty much you got someone, name is to be determined right now. We don't know the villain's name, but they thought All Might was pointing to them when All Might said you're next and was influenced by that, and he's gonna pretend she's gonna look like All Might. He's gonna fight Class 1A. And Andrea, I just want to relate this back to your episode back November 17th, 2021,
Mhm.
about All Might being a symbol. And actually, people take symbols in different ways. And it's kind of like this movie's based off your podcast episode.
I I just I love that. Feels a little bit validating, I will not lie. But I mean it's true. A symbol can be interpreted many different ways to many different people for different reasons. So like it's hard to sit there and kind of like acknowledge that like yeah this dude really internalized and believed that all might pointing at him was for him,
Hmm.
but technically speaking like nobody else other than Midoriya, All Might, Gran Torino, and Bakugo really
Hmm.
knows who he's talking about, or talking to actually, because it's talking to him directly. But it did, I'm sure that clip, it was obviously live news in Japan. It probably made the cycle on the news across the world. Was it live? Maybe not, but still, All Might probably flashed on every TV screen, phone screen throughout the world. So honestly, realistically, more than just Midoriya and this soon to be named villain probably thought it was about them.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you got 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, like you said. I mean, with him, it probably instantly popped across the planet like breaking news. And like he's doing that, and you're saying you're next. It could be a school in America of heroes. Like, oh, we got to take up All Might's mantle. It could be his the person who we say the number one hero in America. She could be like, all right, now that he's done, I'm really up next. Like it's my time. Like it could anyone could interpret it as them. It's just now when you take that message, how are you gonna handle it? And we got
What you gonna
Midoriya doing Midoriya things, and we have this bad guy who's basically about to be a All Might clone from the one trailer we've seen.
Oh, yikes. Yikes. That's going to be, I mean, part of that is going to be Midoriya, fighting the idea of like, you're mimicking, you're bastardizing like the idea of a man I idolize and love and respect and da 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 da. So I wonder if he's going to have like more angry thoughts like that, or if he's going to be like, of course he'll come around and be sympathetic, just kind of like Lady Nagant happened. Like there was that initial like, how could you do this? Like you were a hero, and that yeah. But I just wonder how much they're gonna have Midoriya struggle with his opponent being essentially an All Might after image, a dark All Might, like the Crimson Chin, and then the the Nega Chin from what was
Fairly
that?
odd,
Fairly Odd Parents.
fairly odd parents. I'm just more curious if this villain is going to replicate All Might, what's this villain's quirk? Because if you're going to replicate All Might, you need to have the destructive power and all that stuff. So, like, what is this villain going to do to replicate that?
Mhm.
Like, is
Yeah,
he going to be like a super smart villain and he's going to uncover like everything by himself or like what? I don't know.
I actually wonder if it'll tie into like the main series. I mean, they do write the movies to tie into the main series,
Hmm.
but I wonder if they'll tie in such a way that remember Redestro? Part of
Hmm.
his whole thing was making weapons and or support items, that's what they're called,
Hmm.
support items for the everyday person. So I wonder if part of him like morphing into All Might is going to be buying support items that help him to imitate that destructive power, or if he will naturally just have a somewhat similar quirk that gets boosted because the quirk boosting drugs are still out there.
No, that's a good point. It's sad that this is happening post Night Eye. 'Cause I would have imagined, I would have loved to see Night Eye in this type of
Yes.
situation
Mm-hmm.
for someone who admires All Might as much as he does and all of that, for him to be gone. And now you're going to have an All Might wannabe just going around causing ruckus. I think I really hope it's not Midoriya and just this villain fighting throughout the whole movie. Again, with these movies, I just hope everyone else is somewhat involved in a major fight.
Right, for sure. Especially since there's normally at least one fight sequence where you need a group, and there's the different strategies, just like in the second movie where there were the different um kind of fight teams
Hmm.
that nine had to walk up and through. There were the couple that were, emergency insurance that didn't really do any fighting, but that was
Yeah,
pretty minimal compared to like the overall class number.
yeah. Because the last movie, the third one, Midoriya, Bakugo, and Shoto, they all got obviously big individual fights. And then the second movie, like you said, there were smaller groups and all of that. Then Midoriya and Bakugo had the big final fight. And then in the first movie, they all had smaller stuff. And then All Might and Midoriya had the final attack. So we'll see. We'll see. That is very interesting because that's coming out in August, which means
Yeah.
it'd be 2 months into My Hero.
I mean, is My Hero gonna last the full like is it gonna make it up until the movie comes out? Because I doubt it.
I mean, last season was 25 episodes.
I guess so. That's true.
That's actually, and that's 1 episode per week. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
no, it is. You're right. You're right. I'm still on my Demon Slayer brain of like only 12 episodes a
12
season
a season.
and breaking my heart. Um, but yeah. And didn't they mention that the timeline for the movie was taking place after after the war,
Yep.
but before he returns back to
The
um yeah.
yep. Before the final battle. So after the war, final battle, it could literally just tie into what's going on, like how they're preparing, maybe. And they're like, oh, we got to deal with this before we go fight Shigaraki and all that. So
I wonder, I don't know that they do that only because technically that timeline is Midoriya makes it into the pod and they've got 3 days.
yeah, that's well, anime time. A lot of things can happen
True.
in 3 days.
Maybe All Might will have a similar sidekick that has some sort of time manipulation instead of like foresight, like Night Eye. So
Mhm.
then he can freeze time or some bullshit.
You could, man. You would. I mean, we've seen a lot of things. I mean, just think about from two anime perspective. Like Naruto was what 5 billion episodes for the Ninja War. That was all
Oh
in
my
two
God.
days.
Yes. When I first read that, I'm like, you have to be joking. There's
Hmm.
no way. And then you really like try to think about it sequentially. It's like, yeah, you don't really see the days pass. I think you see like fighting and then one or two camp or like overnight
Yeah,
guard shifts. That's about it.
but still, like all those episodes of chapters in 2 days. Like again, anime time is crazy.
It is. That's true.
So for the February My Hero thing, since President's Day is coming up here, some of the stuff we're going to talk about is when this final battle is over, when it's all settled, which heroes or whoever should run for like presidents and, would be in their cabinet type thing. The reason we brought this up is because obviously the reason we all got into this thing is because everything got infiltrated, the government, everything. So you had all these sleeper agents and all that. So
Mhm.
kicking everyone out, we're starting anew, and we're going to put people in place. And then we'll also talk about why it may be a good thing to have heroes and public figure leadership roles, or it might be a bad thing to have them in leadership roles. But first, we will go through our stuff. And we are doing the United States ones for people. If you listen out there in Japan, I will have Japan's cabinet members listed. You probably know them way better than me, so then you could play along too for your stuff. Um, Andrea, who did you have for president of the new, I don't even
I
know what their Japan My Hero
I
Order?
mean, we'll just call it the reset government that
Hmm.
they're just gonna reset. Um, I picked Principal Nezu for president.
Okay.
I feel like he's just a really good fit. I mean, he's always thinking well in advance. He's even tempered. He's patient and understanding, but he'll also put his foot down when he needs to. We haven't really seen him fight, but we did kind of see him go. Who was the team that went up against him for their midterms?
Oh, that was so long
I
ago.
know, but I mean, that's the only time we've really seen him fight.
Okay. That's a good. So my president, who I chose, and I do have reasons for all these people, I
Mhm.
picked Namamosa, aka the police officer, the one who's
Ah,
super
okay.
close to All Might. The
Yes.
reason I picked him is because now humans don't trust like the way that the heroes are seen with their quirks in the public eye. You need someone
Mhm.
who has the respect of the heroes and the respect of the people. To our knowledge, he has no powers.
Right.
Like, and,
As far as we know,
yeah,
yeah.
as far as we know at this point in time, day recording, he has no powers. And he's very respected because this is a normal police officer who was so respected that All Might told his secret to, his real name to, and his real form to.
Hmm.
So, like, if you have that type of person for the regular Joe Schmoes who aren't heroes, that's someone they can get behind, and that's someone who the heroes would respect as a leader because he's.
Right.
So that's why I picked as my president.
That's a good one. That's a good
Thank you.
one.
Who you got for VP?
I picked Edge Shot for VP.
Okay.
I feel like he's also a lot of what I feel like maybe this is just spillover from real life,
Hmm.
pretending that we could get this in, our upcoming election. But just being very even keel, very supportive. I feel like your VP being supportive of you is really important. And Edge Shot, I feel like is also he's very traditional in the sense that he seems like he wants order, but within reason, that he's willing to listen and try to understand before reacting to anything. Um, which I appreciate and I think would be a really good VP, especially since again, the media is also present in the My Hero Academia world. There is going to be a lot of tough questions. There is going to try to be potentially some pointed questions, trying to make it sound like the VP and the president don't actually get along and all of that good stuff. And I feel like with Edge Shot, he really wouldn't take the bait on that and would help present a united front.
So my person who I picked for VP, almost literally like 98% of the same reasons you said.
Mm-hmm.
Just different person because this person also, because I'm also thinking for the fact if the president dies, this person's the next
Right.
president in
President.
succession. So I was also
Mhm.
putting that in state. And someone who's dealt with tough things, I put Best Genius as VP because he
Nice.
also has, so you have the president and vice president who basically have the people's trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's already had to deal with very tough questions with him and Devon Hawks up front. Like he's
True.
all the reasons you said, cool headed, collect like all that. So I just feel like Best Genius would be a good vice president.
For sure. I actually struggled. Part of me wanted to I guess spoiler down for Homeland Security and
Hmm.
like that. I was like, oh, maybe Hawks, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna challenge myself to not pick any of the the main three heroes. That
Hmm.
they are the top three heroes at this point in
At this
Japan.
point, yep.
Um, I felt like maybe because there was some questions and things of that nature. There was lost trust. Although Best Jeanist, you're totally right. They still have faith in him, and that's why they're letting Endeavor and Hawks kind of skate by to prove themselves, since they have his backing. But I felt like we'll just kind of keep him as if there ever became a department that specifically runs the heroes. I feel like he would have been a good person for that.
Yeah. And
Um,
then my also thinking too, which goes to the second part of what we were going to talk about. If
mhm,
you decide to take one of these positions, you can still like be a hero, but you eliminate yourself from ever being in the hero rankings for conflicts of interest. So you
definitely.
can't be in the hero rankings, or and if you're in office, you can't affect the hero ranking. So if you decide to take the position, you know you can never be ranked again and whatever comes with that. So
Mhm, mhm. I would also throw in the sponsorships that you can't
mhm.
really, but that we've had conversations where I know that's a no brainer
Yeah.
between the two of us.
Yeah. Department of State. Who you got?
I got Night Eye's sidekick or collaborator, Centipeder.
Okay. Giving her a spot. I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
I was like, she'd be really good. I mean, I also debated Homeland Security because she seemed to really specialize in like compiling data representing like different collected information to large groups of people. But I again keep it with my kind of cool headed, just like professional, going to do a good job, and because they do a good job, people trust them.
hmm No, I like that. So my Department of State, since it's deals with abroad, foreign policy, foreign military, all that stuff, put them on here. I got All Might. Or
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. I actually thought, I wondered if we were going to use All Might. I decided to keep him off the board. Although I will go ahead and like last minute substitute him for somebody else way down the list.
oh,
But
no,
I think you'll appreciate where I'm going to put him now.
no, I put him there because everyone on the planet listens to him. I mean,
True.
I saw it literally during the third movie in the World's Heroes mission when he's in that council thing, and I would want him to be the leader of that World Council thing, which would probably be in his job like duties to revamp that as the
Mhm.
Department of like state head. And I also, I mean, I challenged myself to not, I was not going to put him as president and vice president because that'd just be
Yeah,
too
no.
easy. But I feel like with that, he's traveling, like he's working with everyone's safety stuff and all that. So I feel like that'd be a good spot for him since everyone already reveres him.
Right. That is a really good spot. Yeah.
Now we go into some other. Well,
Department of Treasury.
you have to be surprised with this, but I got Uraraka.
What?
Yeah, I got
Okay.
Uraraka for
Okay.
Treasury just because for the fact, I mean, she talked about money, her parents not having
Yeah.
money and stuff. So she's already passionate about it. And that's the other thing I'm looking for. Like people would be passionate in this type of stuff. So she would be passionate to like help lower income ish type like families like try and get their fair share of the pie. So that's why I picked her. And she's
That's
smart. She's smart. I mean,
he is.
she knows what she's doing, and it's more the passion. Like, 'cause she could say, "My family didn't have a lot of money. I wanted to be a hero because I wanted money. That's not a reason people should be a hero. So if you're just so we need to
Figure out a way,
improve."
a better path for upward mobility, so that way
hmm
becoming a hero isn't the primary reason to, or the primary avenue if you have a decent quirk to earn a lot of money.
Yeah. So like, if Jiro just wants to be, well, I guess she'd be because that's still entertainment. Let's just say she just wants to be a guitar teacher and
Mhm.
not be a hero, but she would need to be a hero to get the money, but
Mhm.
then she would take away from her guitar lessons, which she really loves. Where Rock is like, hey, I'm trying to give the people, if they don't want to be heroes, if they just want to be part-time heroes or emergency heroes, but you want to do your job, I got to find a way to make sure everyone's getting paid. She'd be passionate about it because that was her focus. That's why I picked her.
Fair enough.
Who
Fair
do you
enough.
have?
I went with the teacher that I remember going over math, ectoplasm.
Okay.
I
Okay.
figured a lot of maybe not a lot of like math majors, I guess Oso can comment on this, but to me, a lot of economics is math. Um,
hmm
or people try to say economics is math.
hmm
And I feel like that's a lot of numbers to deal with. That's a lot of, so somebody that's very comfortable. with numbers. Also, you don't necessarily hear from the Department of Treasury, so I don't think his kind of intimidating appearance would really hinder him in that position.
I said, no, I like it. You got the teachers involved. I love it. Department of Defense.
So I kind of pulled deep in the bag for this one, and I don't know, it was kind of more of a feeling than anything else,
Okay.
but I went with fourth kind.
Okay.
I just, I mean, he's a tough dude. He doesn't like letting shit by, just like kind of brick wall of a man, personality wise, even too. So I just feel like he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that the people are safe.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I picked because of my thing, everyone pays for their sins, blah, blah, blah. Department of Defense, I picked Hawks.
Okay.
Because also I think with that too, he would eradicate whatever that little spy, whatever program is,
Yeah,
since, and then he would do all this stuff by the book. And I mean, he was technically the head of defense because he was the one doing all this undercover stuff, getting the hero army ready. So I feel like that'd be a very good spot for him for all of his training and all of that, and a chance to do things by the book, ever to repent for
that's
the
fair.
whole twice thing.
I decided to give him a break. Also,
I
on part of it, I was like, well, I feel like I mean, his whole goal is that heroes will have too much time on their hands. So like I'm extending that to him after the big fight. Like, here you go. Here's your time.
But how wouldn't it be a great way to achieve that goal if you make sure there's never war again?
That's true. It's very true.
And I can't even give him that much of a break. He's like 21.
Right.
Like
Right.
he's gonna be needed in our fake world and their world. So
We got a joiner on the podcast.
wow, look who decided to join. Obviously, people can't see who joined him, but we have a special guest. It is a cat.
Hi, Miss Toffee. Miss Toffee being she's very angry because she still has the cone on.
Oh
On
no.
the shame. But yeah, baby, it's okay. Oh, we
Tragic.
get off tomorrow.
Department of Justice, who you got?
Justice.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, so originally I was looking for the officer's name and I couldn't find it, so then I picked Gang Orca. But no, I think it was Namamosa.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
president. Hmm.
I think yeah, I think he would be the best fit for the Department of Justice because he is seen as somebody who's fair, wields authority with good conscience, and is trustworthy. So I feel like he would be, and also law enforcement is his background. So being the head of um, the Department of Justice just feels like a good fit.
So you mentioned gang worker, so I will go back to Department of Justice, but I'm just gonna already say so. The next one, Department of Interior, that's what I picked for gang orca.
Really?
Hmm.
Okay, nice.
Because of its duties. But Department of Justice, we talked about law enforcement, and I'm all about the future and repentance and all. Well, it's not even that bad repentance. He had one bad slip, but he's been good ever since. I feel like that is a perfect spot for Ida, so that's what I put there.
I knew it. Yeah, I thought about that too. I did.
Like I'm
I
trying to
did.
mix the old school and the new school. Well, even some of these people aren't even that old, but that's who I picked there. But no, and like I said, interior, I picked Gang Orca. I mean, protecting America's their natural resources and all that scientific research, conserve, protect fish and wildlife. I feel like that is way in Gang Orca's territory. Who'd you have for interior?
So for interior, I was thinking Selkie.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
no, I like it. I like it. Why did you think Selkie?
I feel like, well, I mean, especially since he's primarily a mariner,
Hmm.
and out in the field, out in nature all the time, it'd be something that he's passionate about. Plus, it's one of those things where he kind of lightens my mood in the stack of everybody because Selkie is a bit of a dorky character in his little like trying to be ooh woo moments. um,
I hear you.
so yeah, I just plus he's a team player, gets along with everybody. So
Who do you have for agriculture?
Agriculture, I have Ibarra from class 1B.
I need to pull.
Vines.
Oh, Vine.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's who I had to. I was like, I had to look because there's some people I put their real names and some people put their hero names, whichever I remember.
Yeah.
But no, agriculture. Yeah, I had Vine too.
I mean,
Nice.
come on, that was, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that was one of the first ones to come through.
Yeah.
It's like, duh.
No, that one was.
It was either her or Coda because he could talk to the animals and stuff. That
Yeah,
was
I wanted to put him. I keep wanting to put him somewhere, but everyone else just took his spot. Who you got for commerce? Commerce.
Commerce.
Hmm.
I was just looking at names and I just picked one because I mean, in America, commerce revolves a lot around plastic. So I went with Mr. Plastic.
Okay. Okay.
I couldn't think of anything else. I was also thinking Mount Lady because she's like all up in the news and stuff or doing interviews. But yeah, I drew a blank.
So this department supports business industries through a number of services, economic demographic data, all of that stuff, and they probably work with the Department of Treasury. And to go off my thing, who better to work with Ur Rocker than her main girl Froppy?
Nice. All right.
So I got her for that one because I
Honestly,
mean,
Momo might be a good fit for that spot too because she's very analytical and
oh yeah, but I have spoiler, I have Momo on my thing just in a different spot.
so do I.
Well then, who do you got for labor?
So for labor, because I feel like he's both fair,
Hmm.
holds people accountable. I don't want to say he's rigid or strict, but
Hmm.
holds people accountable, but at the same time is understanding,
Hmm.
and wouldn't necessarily just run things in the favor of businesses. I think he would be more um, middle ground, maybe even slightly more towards workers. I picked Ida.
Okay.
I picked Ida
Eat it down in department lead. All
especially
right.
since he's so good at delegating tasks and like understanding who's good at what and what good comes from all of these different practices. And just, I do think he would take care of workers. I do.
Um, so the reason I picked this person is because I've seen them take care of multiple workers on my own list and promoted them and helped them and trained them. So I know she has a passion for it. I got the Dragoon hero, Ryuku.
Ryukyu,
Yep,
nice.
Ryuku.
That's a good
Hmm.
one.
Because she's already, I mean, I already got two of her literal people who she's trained and taken care of. They did not get messed up like it, shit, like everyone else did at the raid. So
Yep.
I felt like she would revamp the entire internship, like all the hero
Mhm.
stuff to make sure it's safe. And because she could sit back, like, obviously this was
He'd
excruciating
also kind of
circumstances.
weed out the bullshit internships like Momo and Kendo had.
Yeah. And again, if that's what you want to do, but then it's like you're not really learning safety there. And she
Mhm.
was probably gonna be like, hey, I know we were in a war and sometimes we gotta throw stuff out the window, but like normal day-to-day stuff, maybe we shouldn't be sending our students into the fate of the whole universe fights.
Right.
So, but I feel like she would develop a lot of things for the heroes who want to get out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, or you just went to class A or you just went to UA to learn the skills and you're just like, when you graduate, which happens in real life, you go to
Mhm.
school for something. And when you graduate, you're like, I don't
Nah.
want to do what I did or another job finds me. She would
Mhm.
have all those opportunities made for you. I think she'd be really good at that.
Right. Nice.
Uh, Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay. So this is probably a little out of the bag or out of the
Mhm.
box. I went with Hound Dog because
Okay.
because he is the guidance counselor at UA. So he
Hmm.
obviously has some sort of counseling, psychology, therapy, most likely trauma informed care, if that's, a term that's used in Japan right now. I know it's permeating our social service and health and human services world. But I feel like part of our societal issues with health and human services is because it is seen as something that really only directly goes to primarily lower income or lower quote unquote priority on the totem pole of like businesses versus the poor.
Hmm.
Having somebody that's a little bit intimidating and will not let you belittle them or like make put them in the place of like, no, you come after.
Hmm.
I feel like for that reason he would be a good pick in that role.
So my Department of Health and Human Services, because I mean, she's curious and she'll do all the work. And it is my previous person,
Mhm.
star pupil, the first of the big three entrances. I got Najiri on here. I have
Nice.
the first member of the big three and the last one of, I basically have that whole internship. Ryuku, Najiri, Frafi,
Mhm.
and Uraka, they're all in the cabinet, and I feel like they would all thrive, especially all working together. So I feel like and I feel like that's something she'd want to do as well.
Yes.
So, like conduct health and social science research, all of that. Department of Housing and Urban Development, I have someone when we talk about like targeting sometimes lower income stuff, who's be nice, who could relate to them, who is easy to talk to and understanding. Class 1B's top rep, I got Kendo, aka Battle Fist, in that position.
Oh my God, me too. I had
There
Kendo slash
we
Momo. Cannot relate, obviously, but I
no.
feel like part of I think Momo could outreach to like her social circles, her family social circles, and really kind of and reinvigorate potentially the social responsibility of people that hold that much wealth. I would hope so, but honestly, it's not a fundraising position, so it'd be more to try to get them on board with higher taxes. But yeah, no, Kendo for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the differences between those two is can relate to everyone in her class.
Right.
Like she finds a way to relate to every single one of them. That's why they all have unwavering trust in her. Momo is like, I mean, they respect her because she's smart, but it's not like she can like go talk to them individually and relate to all of them.
No, she's a bit lofty. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest example was her kind of passive comment about how her favorite tea is one of like the most rare and expensive teas
Hmm.
in the universe, or well, in Japan. I don't know if it's, more readily available in a different country, but
Oh,
you
when
know,
she invited them to study, and they're like, "Oh, you live?" Because that's
right.
funny. I was like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess if you're friends and you're going to a person's house for the first time, and you really see like they come
How
for
the other half
money."
lives,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Who do you have for Department of Transportation?
I have Cementos.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cement, man. You're doing better with the teacher stuff than me. I gotta make sure I gotta remember where this person I said came from, which class she is in. I just want to make sure.
Is she
Uh,
in the general studies?
no, no, I know who it is. I just wanted to make sure her thing. So transportation, thinking of innovative ways, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta go support. Gotta go the Department of Support. Gotta have May hot.
That's a May.
Got
That's a good
to.
one. That is
Got
a
to.
great one. She would create all of the trans modes of transportation babies she could freaking think of. Oh man.
I mean, it hurt. I mean, shit. I mean, she's helped with Deku's suits. I mean, and all that stuff. So I gotta have May on there. Energy.
So the only reason I didn't pick Denki is
Oh, that's who
because
I picked.
sorry, bro. Like I don't think at this point I don't have full faith that you're capable of paying attention during these meetings. I think you could run things. I just for that reason I didn't go with him. I actually found a hero called Electoplant.
Hmm.
Electroplant. Yes. So he's also got some sort of like lightning power shocky quirk.
Okay.
But I'm hoping he's kind of not as scatterbrained as Denki.
Well, I mean, that's true. That's fair. We're also future projecting, and it's also one of those things like where
He could
when the
grow
pre
out of it. He could mature and like, become more studious. He
yeah, when the
definitely
president's picking his cabinet and stuff, I'm also thinking of stuff that makes sense and resonates with the people. I
mm-hmm.
mean, when police chief man, now president, when he
Mhm.
goes and picks Denki, people are going to be like, oh, that's the hero from the Shigaraki thing where his electricity was able to stop all those people. If he didn't do that, the
Mhm.
casualties would have been a lot worse. So it's a really easy sell
True.
to the people. And then it's just a matter of him growing out of what he is now, which, because then if we're thinking about people growing out of stuff, it's like, hey, man, some of these people aren't even, well, some of these people aren't good with talking to people. So hopefully
Yeah.
they're growing out of, like at
Right.
their current thing,
Right.
hopefully they grow out of
How,
that
yeah.
because I mean, because this person who I honestly, besides Midoriya, I feel like we talk about this person the absolute most on this podcast. My Department of Education was a no-brainer for me. That was Momo,
Mm.
but we're talking about talking and confidence. Because I mean, if we can compare to our current age, you're gonna have a lot of parents saying, "Oh, you shouldn't teach that stuff." Or my great grandpa was a part of the Liberation Army. He didn't know what
Oh,
he was doing, and now you're talking bad about him. Like, but I
yep.
feel like Momo's love for education and all of that, I feel like that would be a great spot for her.
That is a great spot for her. I just went ahead and kept with, as much as I don't think he would like a government position,
Eraser.
I had to do it. I had to do it. But I will say, if I wasn't going to pick a racer, I would pick Momo, especially since, as an educator, RIP Miss Midnight, Momo kind of like takes on her torch, and
Yeah, she's next
Midnight
up.
was a
She's the
great.
heir.
Mhm.
Which I mean, you could be seeing a thing when this is all said and done that Momo's principal of Class 1A. Like
Yeah,
she's principal of UA, I'm sorry, yeah,
yeah.
of
I know.
UA.
I know what you meant. I got you.
So because I mean education's important to her, and then like with her then like I don't know what their financial aid's like working on financial aid packages and stuff like that. So I feel
Well,
like
in
she
my universe, since she's not in the cabinet and Nezu's, president, somebody will need to be principal of UA.
there you
So
go. There you
that's
go.
that's where she'll be. That's where she'll be. Plus, technically, Principal Nezu had to dip into his own funds to create the security system that will keep
Hmm.
um, the school safe and the surrounding area safe from Shigaraki's enhanced quirk. Um, Obviously, got deep pockets, and Momo's pockets might come in handy.
They could. They
so,
could. Who do you have for Veterans Affairs?
so since All Might was on the table, I would have put All Might here.
Hmm.
I put Gran Torino.
Okay. So he's still going to be alive when this is all.
Yep. I
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Okay. No. For my Veterans Affairs, because I mean, by the time this is all stuff is over, if alive, everything's all resolved. And he will be the epitome of a war veteran, which people will eat that up even past the grave. I got your favorite person on there. I got Endeavor.
I wondered. Yeah, no, I
That's a position that he would be able to do because he was one. I mean, especially in our country, you were in those wars and you were fighting those wars too. So you can't have the usual. You can't tell me what it's like to be a veteran because you weren't a veteran when he is literally a veteran.
true.
Yeah.
But that's also why I went with Gran Torino because he was there
Oh
for
no, that's a good one
yeah.
too. I just said my thing. He's dead.
I'm still on the train where like you can have your own like redemption, you can have your own atonement. But to me, part of that atonement is once you complete this task in front of you of helping to get rid of this threat, you bow out. Like you can come back if there are dire straits and you're needed because not showing up when you're needed is not a good look either. But I don't think he needs to be part of a government body. He doesn't need to be the face of heroes and yeah. But that's just me. And so for my final position, the Department of Homeland Security, I have Snipe.
Okay. 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 Um, where the hell is mine at? So the reason I picked this person, one, they're a genius.
Mhm.
Two, they're used to making all this stuff, like and helping all that in all forms, and they could find threats and
Mhm.
work with, who did I put for defense with Hawks and all of that.
Mhm.
Last spot, Melissa Shields.
Nice,
I
nice.
mean, she's
She would have
already,
to move to Japan, but she already knows Japanese, so
yeah,
that works.
she would have to move. Like this would, she would be, that's the reason I also put her last, because you'd have to go recruit her. But I mean, her work is
Undeniable.
impeccable.
Yep.
So, and she's a genius and all that, and she'd be able to be on that computer, like, and she'd be able to work with the new Homeland Security teams, the cyber threat security teams, and all of that. So Andrew, what
For
did
a
you think
split
of?
second, I thought you were going to say Bakugo, and I'm like, I mean,
No, because of my criteria that if you do this, you can't be in the
that's
hero
true.
rankings, and he would want to be in the hero rankings.
He will.
So Andrew, what do you think of our list?
I think we did pretty good. I am very impressed with the both of us.
Yeah, I think there were similarities, like there was similarities in descriptions why we picked people, but they were just
Right.
different people.
Yeah.
We had similar people in different positions. None of us had really, we had no of the fighting people. Like there was no Midoriya on here, there was no Shoto, there was no
Yep.
Bakugo, there was no
Mirio,
yeah, there was no Tsukiyomi, there was no Lamil, like there was none of those like
the
fighting
big.
ones, which I do. I mean, which I do think like Homeland Security too. I mean, I think that'd be any spot where battle planning, like Midoriya would be perfect in because
Oh
he takes
yeah,
those notes and all that. But I feel like he'd want to be out there instead of
behind a desk.
behind a desk. But even though these desks might be more important than out there, because you got to show that the government can be trusted. Because the only reason this war happens because it got infiltrated.
Hmm.
So, but no, I think that was really good. So then on the flip side, though, why would it not be a good idea to have heroes and public figures in leadership roles?
Well, because public figures can have a tendency of being a public figure and then being a private individual, and maybe the moves that they would make as a leader and private individual differs from their public persona.
Mhm.
There's also just the potential ethical things if there aren't strict rules in place for, like we already talked about, the like sponsorship things. Like you're a hero, you, even if you can't be sponsored once you take a cabinet position, it's like the hint of impropriety where like, oh, Kellogg's will say endorsed cement toss for like Wheaties or whatever the hell for years, and now he's part of the cabinet for what did I have him for? Cementos for transportation. So maybe I don't know. They're like, hey, you know how we used to pay you all this money? Like,
Mhm.
so like, I that makes me uncomfortable. Of course, again, none of that money can be accepted now, and you would need. It's just, I mean, with our current situation where it's always like, okay, there's a lot of sly indicators of insider trading, but you can't
Mhm.
actually like nail anybody with those charges, or at least nobody's been really nailed with them recently. And it's like you would want to find ways to avoid that. But the benefit for heroes is their public personas should be matching, what they would actually do, as well as generally speaking, heroes take on the hero role to be of help and to be of service. Whereas some politicians, I don't know if this is true in Japan, but some politicians get into the game to make, changes for their own benefit or
Mhm.
in the likeness that they would prefer. Um, but it also is fairly lucrative once you get to those higher levels. So it is partly making money on top of your normal job, because even full-time politicians generally you're only what in the Capitol when Congress is seated a couple times a year. So then you could still be running whatever other businesses, law practices, day jobs, whatever. So then you're getting two salaries. And the salary for being a congressman, a senator is not necessarily small. So there would need to be, I also think, kind of something around it's a public service position, so the rate of pay would only be something like, I don't know, just above the median income for any average Japanese citizen. That way, it's not anything overblown, but it's also not barely anything to survive on. Or if the median income for the average Japanese citizen is barely anything to survive on, that's additional incentive for the government to get working to fix that.
And I would also say with like the people getting in the like when they get elected, I mean, one of the first things they're doing, they're trying to change the laws for the people who back them financially because every politician is backed by
Somebody.
somebody or something or some group, and they're like, hey, if we're putting millions of dollars into it, like you need to go up there and you need to try and get some stuff changed that would benefit us down the road. So
Mm-hmm.
that's most politics around. But anything else, Andrea?
I I wonder how feasible it would be for heroes to still be active heroes while doing these positions.
Oh,
Because these positions are part of the cabinet, but they're not necessarily governors, senators, congressmen, women. Um, so I wonder if these are more like full time and how feasible it would be for them to be active heroes at the same time.
I mean, because
And if that,
each
go
of these
ahead.
cabinet people are running an entire department. So I don't know, like for some of the people on our like list who have ran like hero agencies, they may have that experience, but like if all these cabinet positions have like thousands of people underneath them,
Mhm.
I don't know how feasible that would be unless another like war broke out.
Right.
But then in that case, you wouldn't need these people to step in because of the people that we've left off the list.
Mhm.
Because that is a, I mean, because some of these people can only do one real task at a time. If they have to get scatterbrained, we're going to be screwed.
Yep.
So,
So I wonder if it's during the set time of the term that you can't
oh yeah,
engage,
that'd be a good
you
one.
can't you can't engage voluntarily, that you would suspend your hero duties until
Hmm.
your term is up.
Yeah.
It also goes to self-sacrifice, but at the same time, how many, I don't know, not everybody views, running, being a part of government, running the entire like department, national departments as being like a greater good
Hmm.
than, like Midoriya would be somebody who prioritizes like I have to be boots on the ground. Like that's just how he is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many heroes, even of the ones that I went ahead and just plopped on this list, would be willing to like come off the street and do something more administrative.
I mean, I think so. Even though I don't think we picked any of them, some of those people who quit
Mm-hmm.
after, I mean, I feel like that'd be, I forgot which top hero we saw actually quitting, but
Oh, it
I
was
feel,
Power Loader. I thought about him for the Department of Interior.
yeah, like those people were like, after seeing the fights, it's like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, we just let all these people die. We failed. Like, hey, you don't want to be on the boots on the ground. However,
Your
there's
ex.
still some stuff you
Yep.
can do.
Yep.
So
If
I
your
felt,
heart, for him specifically, I would wonder if his heart is still in it, because he really just seemed very heartbroken that like that that they're out there still trying, but the public just, they weren't ready to
mhm.
to open up. And I'm sure, and it's one of those things where you can't necessarily fault him for like I can't do it anymore, because sometimes somebody being in a position that they shouldn't be in, that they're not committed to, that they're not fully invested in, would do more harm than somebody who isn't as good but really cares, or isn't as experienced or competent but they really care. Because the lack of empathy or lack of presence can really do damage that's unintended.
I mean, that would be interesting because I mean, these are four. Well, if you get elected 4 to 8 year terms, I mean,
Mhm.
so
And while cabinet members, they technically don't necessarily, they have a term as long as like they've been picked, But technically speaking, say Principal Nezu is the first president, and then Namamosa becomes the next president. Technically, Namamosa could come in and keep Principal Nezu's a lot of the cabinet members in place.
Correct.
Every time there's a new person that they get switched
Yeah.
out, it just depends.
I'm
So
just basing it off of our where we live. It's like, all right, a new president's in, the other people's group, your asses are all out.
yeah, basically, which is wild because you would hope that you climb so high to be the department head of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and because the country does not prefer the person that picked you, even if you've been doing a good job, you can still be ousted.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why. I
Like
mean
that's to me that's wild, but I know
that-
that's the way it is.
that's why I sometimes tell people it's like, hey, if you're going into an elected position, that if your boss goes, you go. Be Save
Prepared.
as much money as you can
Hmm.
because you might be out of a job in 4 years.
Hmm.
Andrew, anything else?
I don't think so. Just that this was really fun. I actually, as you know, I basically kind of threw together my list a little bit, not a little bit, but very last minute.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm still pretty proud of it. So I'm happy. I'm also glad I had this idea. It just was a random pop-up, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, so that means the month of March is the last idea case study type thing for that because April is the preview.
Yes, sir.
So,
Absolutely.
so we will need to figure out something for March and then get ready for the big preview episode in April. And then at the end of May, review the first episodes of My Hero season 7
Definitely, definitely. And maybe we'll hop on for something regarding the Demon Slayer movie about to drop in a
at
couple.
the end of this month of recording at the end of February. Can't
I hope
wait.
so. I hope so.
With that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe wherever you listen. We'll be back next month with don't know the My Hero topic for March. Got to think of something good since it's the last one before we're in full season preview, season reviewing mode. But we will get that to you. With that being said, L7C signing out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.